All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this spring info session. My name is Vanessa Ferlano, and I'm here and I'll be chatting with you today about our Atlantic Canada Scale Up and Investment Challenge. We've got a pretty packed event, pretty packed info session tonight. First off, we're going to start with the CEO of Imaginal Ventures. Dorothy Spence will be coming on stage and she'll be chatting with us a little bit about the context of this program, how it all started, how it all came to be, and with a special focus on some of the ventures and how she's qualifying the ventures that our investors that will go through this cohort will have the opportunity to engage with. I'll come back on the stage and I will be honored to share with all of you a little bit more about the Impact Investment Challenge. And then we will break into a little fireside chat with my colleague Davina McPhail, who will be joined by Jennifer McDonald, who is the Senior Vice President of Impact Investments at Cycle Momentum. Then I'll come back on stage and we'll have the opportunity to address any questions anybody may have. Please be free if you check out the chat bar here on the side, you'll see a little question mark icon. So please be welcome to drop any questions in that little box if you have any along the way. Before we go on, I would also just like to honor and appreciate our partners for this program, which include Imaginal Ventures, Nova Scotia Health, and then our NRCI rep and the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Fund. So thank you so much to everybody being here today. And I would very much like to invite Dorothy Spence here onto the floor.
Hi, Vanessa, and welcome everyone. As Vanessa introduced me, I'm Dorothy Spence, and I'm based here in Halifax, and the CEO of a company called Imaginal Ventures. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of background in terms of this idea that we had, and convince some of our partners to join in with us. But one of the opportunities that we continue to see in Atlantic Canada is the opportunity to really help those high growth companies scale up. So we put together a specific program that targets these companies that are typically around raising their seed round or preparing to, or just after. So everything is around seed. And they have the product market fit, they have an understanding of their business model, they have their founding team in place, and they're ready to scale. So we run this program, as I said, in partnership with Spring and Foresight on the clean tech side. We started the Clean Tech Challenge back in, when was that? Wow, it seems so long ago. April, I think. Yeah, it was in April, and they've already gone, 7 of these ventures completed the scale up portion, which is the first portion of the program. And they've also completed their investment readiness program, which was run by Foresight Canada. And then we're preparing on the investor side through Spring to bring in the Impact Investment Challenge. The Health Solutions group, which is a little bit bigger cohort, it's 13 ventures, started their scale-up program in September. They're just finishing it off, and they're going to be joining in with the Spring for investment readiness and the Impact Investment Challenge. So what as you can see up on the screen, there is some of the logos of these amazing companies. One of the things that I really want to emphasize in terms of potential investors is this is what we all believe is a really unique opportunity. There's some of these companies that you would not typically be able at this stage to invest in them. So coming in as a group of investors really opens up opportunities to get them at the early stage as they're really starting to get traction and create value in their businesses. And we've had some great success stories here in Atlantic Canada in terms of these types of companies. And some of you in the clean tech space are familiar with some of our companies like Carbon Cure. And we have quite a few of them that are from here. One of the things that is really unique with Atlantic Canada and really, I think, attractive for investors is we have strong universities and R&D talent and a growing ecosystem that is really supporting these companies in growing and scaling as they focus more on commercialization. So exciting time. And we really invite you to come in, both accredited and non-accredited investors, to support the development of this ecosystem. This is a very, very important thing for Atlantic Canada to have impact investors like Spring is bringing into the area. I just want to acknowledge once again, as Vanessa talked about, we've had wonderful support from the Nova Scotia Health Innovation Hub, who supported the Health Solutions Program, and IRAP and ACOA, who supported the Clean Tech. So thank you, and welcome to the information session.
Thanks so much, Dorothy. I appreciate all the context there too. Yeah, these ventures are really incredible. We've had the opportunity just even on our end to be, just to look through them, and we had the opportunity also to meet them when we were down in Halifax the last couple events that we've run. The most recent one was actually at the Nova Scotia Health Innovation Hub. Beautiful venue for anyone who's not had the opportunity to check it out. But yeah, we got to meet a lot of the founders, and these are really incredible companies. And I think the emphasis is on the scale up part. These are ventures that have traction, very good traction, and who are very well supported by the ecosystem like Dorothy, you were talking about. And I think it's very important to emphasize that for those of us who are investors. What is the support available to ventures? And that comes from the form of organizations like Imaginal Ventures, but again, also the other ecosystem players. And I think that we see that a lot in the Atlantic region, and ecosystem that's very supportive in terms of the ventures. So very grateful for all the context, Dorothy. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, so I will continue now here. I'm going to head back, right here, before we formally enter the info session. I just want to start with a brief little land acknowledgement here, acknowledging that we live, work, and play on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Anishinaabe, specifically the Garden River and Batchewana First Nations. And please be invited to extend this land acknowledgement into a land engagement. There are many opportunities for us to engage in our regions and to support our Indigenous communities, whether it be, donations or any sort of other time, anything that we can offer to many of our Indigenous communities. So we had the opportunity to hear from Dorothy. Later on, we'll hear from Jennifer as well. But first up, a little bit about Spring. We are the space where founders and investors come together for impact. We are a certified B Corp, and we send 1% of our revenues off to the 1% for the Planet program. For us, it really is about building community, building an ecosystem, and that's the approach we take when we work with our partners, but also when we consider how are we engaging with investors. Spring, we're actually celebrating our 10th birthday in January, but we're double digits now. We're the moody preteens now. Not so moody though. We're a pretty joyful bunch. So, but we actually originally we had started offering venture support programming, but we ended up shifting into the investor support programming because we started realizing in the impact space that was really where the gap was. We saw lots of people and lots of investors, accredited, non-accredited, interested in supporting impact ventures, but sometimes there was a bit of a miscommunication or misalignment trying to understand, how do we use our investment metrics and returns, and how do we fuse them with impact metrics and impact returns? How do we bring those together in impact investment? And so that's one of the things that we offer, especially through our impact investment challenges. In the simplest form, we take impact investors with capital and impact ventures with their solutions. We bring everyone together in this impact investment challenge to maximize impact together. So far, we've been running these programs for a few years now. And so far, just in these challenges alone, we've trained 255 investors. We featured 199 companies. We've made $1.8 million in direct impact investments. And we've also been able to catalyze $47 million in impact investments. And so what that means is that, when we look at the direct impact investments, as I get into the impact investment challenge, we'll learn that, there's one venture out of all the cohort Dorothy even mentioned, there's almost 20 ventures in total between the two streams. Basically one venture is going to get a direct investment per stream. The 47 million refers to the other ventures that typically are also exposed to other follow-on investment opportunities because of the fact that they're just part of this program where they're exposed to all these different investors, all these different programs, all these other people in the network that they also benefit from these catalyzed impact investments. And so I really want to make sure that both of those are highlighted because it is a very crucial part of the impact investment challenge. And when we talk about, especially at Spring, we talk about community. This is why it's very important to bring everyone together. As I mentioned, our Atlantic Canada Impact Investment Challenge, we have two streams. We have the Clean Tech stream, which is graciously supported by Imaginal Ventures, Foresight Canada, the NRC IRAP, and ACOA. Then we have our Health Innovation stream, once again supported by Imaginal Ventures, Halo Health, and the Nova Scotia Health Innovation Hub. You've seen this slide already. These are the participating ventures in the Atlantic Canada Impact Investment Challenge. We have Drinkable, Korea, Inessa, Coliskins, Rayleigh, PlayX, and Inditiv 3D are our clean tech streams. And then the rest of those sort of below that are all of our healthcare, the health solutions ventures. Like I said, we had the opportunity to meet a lot of the venture founders over the last few events that we have run, and it's honestly been a true pleasure. We've already been able to engage with the ventures in many different ways. We actually have had, through our network, we have, media requests come in to actually invite some of the venture founders onto podcasts and different shows. So, again, even though the program has not officially started and does not start until January, there's still a lot of opportunity here and that ventures are able to catalyze on. And so we're really excited to be a part of that. Here's the journey for you. It's much neater. Actually, this is a pretty nice slide, I have to say, but it looks like there's a lot happening, but stay with me and we will walk through this together. Really what's happening right now, as I mentioned, the program starts January 17th for both streams. But really, what we're really aiming for is the end of November. We're hoping to have our investor commitments just solidified, confirmed. That's happening right now. Really, what's been going on the last few months is we've just been taking the opportunity to really get to know all of you, anyone who's interested. We always like to understand whether you're accredited, non-accredited, but also just your general interest in impact investing, how familiar you are with it, how comfortable you feel with it, what's your general background, how comfortable are you, what's your risk level, et cetera, et cetera. Really just getting the opportunity to get to know everybody. And, if you're interested, we will confirm your participation. We're aiming for, end of November, early December. And then we have our kickoff here, January 17th. It's really an opportunity for you to get to know each of your investors, and you also get to know the venture founders. Usually we start off, kind of like dating, right? It's a personal experience, but it is in towards the second session where we start digging a little bit deeper into some of the ventures. We'll learn, their stories, what they do, the traction they have, all the typical stuff. But then what we do after that is you end up we do kind of like a round robin. So you meet all the ventures, you'll have access to all the materials. And at this point here, our Q&A, what happens is that everybody will actually vote on their top 5. So out of all the logos that you just saw on that previous slide, you're going to vote on your top ventures. And then after that starts our core program training, our core due diligence, our weekly training sessions. What we do is we break all the investors off into little diligence groups, and each group is assigned a venture. And so each group will then do very formal diligence on that venture over the course of those 5 weekly training sessions. I will get into what some of the topics are covered in those sessions, but that's really the basic idea. And so you're going to really get to know these ventures and really get to know these founders. And we walk you through it. We bring in our legal partners as well to support. We bring in a bunch of other guest speakers as well to offer more information and more education. And then at the very end, what we're really doing here is we're putting together an investment memo. And so I like to stress this because this is it's a real world scenario. This is exactly what it's like to be doing diligence when you're part of a collective or a group or a fund. And so each session, you're putting components together to build that investment memo. On that final session, every group will present that investment memo. And then on that last event here, our pitch finale, that is where all the top five, those top ventures will present their decks. And then you will actually have the opportunity to vote live. And whoever is the winning venture will get that winning investment from the entire investor cohort. So it's a really great way to make this very accessible to everybody and a great way to get this real world experience. Some of the things that we'll cover, we'll talk a little bit generally about the impact investment landscape, but of course, because there's a clean tech and healthcare stream, it'll be catered to each stream. We'll talk about investment memos and special purpose vehicles. As I mentioned, we do bring in our legal partners who will educate on that. And we actually do have a bonus session that's dedicated to our legal partners, literally taking you through the paperwork that's required for some of these to go through. We'll talk about impact thesis and measurement, which I was alluding to in the beginning. We'll talk about negotiation and valuation, all investors' favorite topics. We'll also talk about evaluating a founding team. There are ways to do that, especially when you're dealing with early stage ventures. I mean, these are scaled, they have traction, but there are ways to consider evaluating a founding team. And then, of course, our post-investment considerations are just some of the things that we'll be covering in the education part of the program. That other part of the program is the community. Again, this is a cohort typically of around 20 investors. We're doing diligence in small groups, so you actually get a full breadth of experience that can be leveraged when you're putting together this investment memo. You have the opportunity to build authentic relationship with founders, which is very important, especially in the impact space. With impact, everything really boils down to intentionality. And so having the opportunity to build these authentic relationships with founders is really, really, really crucial to making impact investments. You also have the opportunity to continue the investment journey as part of the Spring community. Specifically, what that means, not only do you get to be part of the community, but we actually offer you a 1-year membership to our Spring Collective, which is part of the participation of this program. The Spring Collective is actually Canada's only national angel group dedicated to impact investment. We have about 100 members part of the Spring Collective right now. So it's a really great opportunity after this program. If you decide you want to keep participating in impact investment, you will be invited to monthly meetings, and selected ventures will have the opportunity to pitch you, and you can decide if you'd like to make more investments into some of these ventures. And last but not least, we do pool all that money together. Typically ends up coming around to about $100,000 per impact investment challenge that's pooled into the winning venture. So really, again, a really strong investment into the community. And I think to bring us back, since we're talking about community, I'd actually like to invite Jennifer and Davina onto the stage, and maybe they can share with us a little bit more about what it's like to be part of the Spring community. I think Jennifer is really a really special guest because she was actually a participant in a previous impact investment challenge. So she'll have some wonderful feedback for all of us. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Vanessa. I think that was a great intro. So hi, everyone. My name is Davina McPhail. I'm the investment program director at Spring. And so, I had the privilege of having Jennifer in one of my similar program a few months ago when we ran the Quebec Clean Tech Investment Challenge. So, I just wanted to, have this opportunity in this info session to have past investor participants to join us and kind of also share her perspective of what it was like to be part of this program. So thanks, Vanessa, for all this. And so I'll just introduce you, Jennifer, if that's okay. Very happy to have you. Jennifer is a senior VP of investments at Climate Tech Accelerator Cycle Momentum, where she leads an investment matching program for climate startups in Quebec. She's an active angel investor and advisor in climate technology, and she brings over 20 years of experience scaling businesses for impact. And so before joining Cycle Momentum, she led strategy, product, and operations as chief operation officer at startup Mocha Financial Technologies, which was acquired. And Jennifer's earlier career focused on access to finance in emerging markets with experience in Africa, Latam, and Asia. And so, as mentioned by Vanessa, so you've been an angel investor with our community, and so very grateful for that. So welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, the Spring community has been a big part of my journey as an investor, so I'm happy to share those experiences.
So maybe just to start off, can you share a little bit with us what drove you to angel investing?
Yeah, so I got interested in angel investing after we sold the startup that I was part of, Mocha Financial Technologies. That company was sold in 2021, and I was already active in the startup community as a mentor and a coach, but I was looking for other ways to get involved. I was also making a transition from fintech, where I'd spent most of the first part of my career, into climate tech. I was really curious about it. So I was starting to work with startups in that space, and I decided that angel investing was a great way to deepen my knowledge and to get to meet more companies and so on. Actually, what I was doing at the time, I was back during that time, it was still still the pandemic, so there were a lot of demo days that were being held virtually. So I was basically signing up for any demo days that I could see virtually, so that I could see as many companies as possible, and particularly because I was trying to get out of my fintech community and into looking at other types of companies. So I got to watch a few of the impact challenges that Spring was running and see some of the companies. I've said this to you before, but typically, because we're in Quebec, they were often happening at a time when it was like supper time in Quebec. And so I would start watching it and I wouldn't want to stop watching it. So I'd say to my family, hey guys, what if we watch a pitch competition while we're eating dinner? And my teenagers would kind of roll their eyes, but my husband works in startups too. And he'd be like, yeah, that's great. Love watching pitch competitions. And by the end of it, the teenagers would be wanting to vote on which ones we should vote for the Audience Choice Award and everything. So I was really enjoying the energy and the types of companies that were in the Spring Impact pitch days, and that became part of the exposure that I was getting to different types of companies.
No, thanks for sharing that. I mean, it's true that we new ways of working, more virtual. It is an opportunity also to get into homes and get these companies into homes, right? Which was not possible before that. So thanks so much for sharing that. And I think I mean, it's quite inspiring to see the journeys shared with our families. Angel investing is also something quite personal and a personal commitment, and so I love thank you for sharing that energy. And then so kind of building a bit on that, and what angel investing is also about is kind of making those decisions and kind of finding companies that fit really with what you as an individual want to support, and where you want to put your capital. And a lot of the things that we try to do with the Impact Investor Challenge is kind of build that impact investing thesis, help investors kind of define a little bit what they actually want to do with their money, how they want to build their portfolio. So I don't know if you can share a little bit with us, like how you've have you developed an impact investment thesis? Has that evolved? And love to hear a bit more about that.
Yeah, definitely. I was really interested in focusing on climate tech because it was the vertical. I was really looking to have more impact, return to that feeling that I'd had when I worked in international development earlier in my career. So I was quite focused on climate tech. I've tended to invest quite early, so I feel that my strengths are more towards evaluating teams and business models, and I really enjoy that stage of companies. So my thesis is around looking for teams that have a really strong vision and a solution that can have a big impact. I've looked for a fair amount of diversity in the types of companies that I'm looking at, so I try not to double click on the same types of technology or make different plays. And I just look for diversification. So I've made about 7 investments to date. I tend to be a small check investor, but I offer to companies that I invest in if it's helpful to have me, in an advisory capacity, or if there's something that I can help with, and I do that. And I see that as a way of staying close to the companies and helping to de-risk. So I'm pretty involved with probably 4 of them, and others I'm more hands off and just reading the reports.
Yeah, no, and I love that, and thanks for sharing that, because I think these are important things to know when you're new to this space. Kind of, how do you build your portfolio, but also how, like, do you balance that with the time allocation that you want to dedicate to your portfolio companies, and how how big that can be, right? Because some investors are like happy to trust the founders, put a check and then move on to the next thing, and then some are like much more hands-on, like you are. And I think that's also kind of defining that and finding out where you sit on that. There's no right or wrong. It's kind of thanks for bringing that perspective.
Yeah, and I leave it very much, if I'm writing a check, then it's because I believe in the founders and their vision to take it forward. But I offer it, if the kind of operations experience that I have from my own startup, or the, navigating with investors experience that I have from the activities that I'm doing now, if that can help, then I offer that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what we call smart money, right? Also, and something that founders are also after when they're kind of like, if we look at on the other side, yeah. Okay, so I'm kind of maybe just kind of going over the program and kind of what was your experience. I think people here will be interested to hear about that. What was the most important takeaway for you, joining one of these programs?
Yeah, and I've actually been involved twice, because actually the first investment that I made was just asking if I could join one of the SPVs from a program. I saw a company through one of those demo days, and I said, I'm really interested in that. So I just asked if I could join the SPV, and that gave me my first exposure. So I got to read the investment memos that the investors in the group had put together. I saw the types of questions that they'd been asking. I had access to some of the Q&A sessions. I asked my own questions. So that was the first exposure, and I saw how that process went through, and I said, okay, this is a nice model of doing it together with others. And then sometime later, when I'd done a few more investments on my own, I was also interested in developing a network with other impact investors, and I saw that opportunity of joining the Spring Quebec Clean Tech Challenge as a way of building that network. And also balancing the skill set that I had with those of others. And it was a really good experience, because the caliber of investors that get involved, there are different levels of experience with investing, of course. Like, some people are doing it for the first time and others have more experience. But I found that there's a real interesting mix of skills. So some people with legal background, some people with experience running companies, some people with industry knowledge, some people with impact work that they're doing. So pooling all those skills together, I think, is a really interesting way to look at companies, and you learn something from everyone you go through. And then the other aspect of it that I thought was really great was being able to go through more end to end. And at this point, I was looking to move more strongly into investing as part of my my core activities in my career, and getting that exposure really end to end with a deal was something that I was interested in doing. So that was something that I was able to do with Spring.
No, great. No, thanks for sharing that, because I think, both speaking to what Vanessa also shared previously, like the community aspect, the network, doing this is really really foundational here. And I think, a lot of us kind of found a lot and created a lot of connection. I mean, it's something when you've never met someone and you're suddenly in the due diligence team together. It's a quite a special bonding experience, I think. And as you say, and also the diversity of the profiles, as shared by Vanessa, also everybody's welcome in this program, accredited, non-accredited investors, new and experienced. And I think everybody get something out of it, and kind of depending where they're at, and where they want to go. So yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. And then yeah, like the process, it is a pretty fast. I think I would agree. It's pretty fast paced and intense program. I mean, we're not going to to sugarcoat it, but I mean, it's that's what makes it a valuable one, and kind of seeing a whole transaction end to end in 10 weeks is quite special, I think, and quite unique, and so thanks for highlighting both of these. Of course, I'm a bit biased here, but I'm glad that that landed also well with you. I mean, thank you so much for all that. I mean, just maybe a last question, someone who's a bit on the fence. Oh, should I do this? Is it for me? Is it not for me? Any kind of final words on that, and how, what would you say to someone who's hesitant?
I think I would say that it's really worthwhile doing if you're looking to get exposure to that kind of experience. So being able to learn in a supportive environment like that, being able to learn by doing with the kind of exposure to the caliber of companies that you have through the program, as well as building your network with others that are on that journey as well. I think it's extremely valuable. I think if you're doing it for the first time, then taking the first step can be hard, and doing it through a program like this, where the should I, shouldn't I is kind of taken out of it. Like you're pre-committed, and just respecting the process and going through it is really valuable. And at the end of the day, you come away from it having supported a company that is really there, to make an impact, and you're doing it with a community of others that have, that a lot of those shared values. So I'd say that's the pitch that I would do for it. And I see huge value for this kind of program to help to bring more people into impact investing and build those skills. As the companies really need that support. The angel check is often the one that really puts them on their path, right?
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for all that. If you want to watch a few more pitch competitions, and that's for everybody also, we have 2 finales actually coming up. One this week on Thursday. So our BC Health Impact Investor Challenge that is kind of that is wrapping up at the moment. So do join us. Do like Jennifer, and Jennifer, you're very welcome. And we'll also meet next week for the finale of the Women-led Impact Investor Challenge. That's a national program that's also wrapping up now, and that has also an online pitch competition next week. So anybody who's curious, everybody's welcome to join us for that. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Speak to you soon. And Vanessa, the floor is back to you.
I'm really grateful for that feedback. I really like this. I really like that it became a family Shark Tank, a family Spring Impact Investment Challenge. I think that's great. Just to finish this off, we've talked a lot about how accessible the challenge is for everybody, and it really is exciting that we get to offer this to both accredited and non-accredited investors. If you're an accredited investor, we typically look at around a $10,000 minimum investment plus your $1,200 program fee. You can even call that tuition if you want, and that it comes to a total of around $11,000 and $200 Canadian. We also do offer for the non-accredited investors, that minimum investment can start as low as $2,500. You still have that $1,200 program fee, but that total does come out to $3,700. But because you're here today, if you are willing to please be welcome to use this InfoSession 2023 code, and you'll actually reduce that down to a $500 program fee. So yes, that's very huge, very big, substantial difference. Please be welcome to use that just for your presence and attendance here today. The other reason, we talk about accessibility in terms of making this available to everybody, but I do want to actually highlight even just the tuition fees. There are a lot of programs that are similar to this by, higher institutions, the Harvards of the world offer like impact investment, tuition, and education. But that's just your education part, and that tuition tends to be starting at just the $10K. Our program really offers you a true real world experience like we've been talking about. And this investment does include your equity investment. So this is really a true valuable program at a much better value than what you'd find out in the market. It's also very easy to apply. You'll submit a very simple application form. You will be redirected to schedule a call with me. We'll have a quick discussion around, your own intentions, and then, if you're comfortable proceeding, we'll send you a commitment document. You will simply sign it, send it back to us, and then you will pay the invoice for the program fees following that. There's probably a fifth step here, which is simply, when you make the commitment, you're committed, you're ready to go, but we won't actually call your investment funds until January, February. So you have a little bit of time if you want to, organize your cash flow a little bit. But, you are able to simply just sign up for the program, and you won't actually need to make or send over the investment funds until January, February. So please be very mindful of that as you go through the whole strategy of all of this. And last but not least, tremendous thank you to our partners, Imaginal Ventures, Foresight, NRC IRAP, the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, Halo Health, and the Nova Scotia Health Innovation Hub. You can sign up for the Atlantic Canada Impact Investor Challenge by November 30th, right here at spring.is. You'll get this in the email, and that link will actually take you directly to the application form. Or you can contact me directly, Vanessa at spring.is. Whatever way you go, you are always going to end up chatting with me. So sorry, not sorry. Don't know what to tell you. You're going to be stuck with me regardless. But please be welcome to do so. And I actually did want to echo, Davina had mentioned, if you wanted to further experience this a little bit more, like she said, we've got November 23rd, one of the finales coming up, and November 30th as well, the women-led finale. So this would be, what I was mentioning. These are two of our investor challenges modeled exactly after the Atlantic Canada program. So this is an opportunity to check out those final pitches, that final vote, and really see what it's all about. And then there's also a little bonus here. We do have a current foundations course. It's a Women in Technology series. It's actually supported by BDC. The West Coast cohort has already started, but there's a little bit of time if you want to sneak into that Atlantic Canada cohort. So please be welcome to check that out as well. Thank you so much for coming out today. Very grateful for all of your time. And if there are any questions, happy and honored to take any right now. We will send you this via email. You'll have the deck, and you'll have access to that promo code as well. So thank you so much. I look forward to hearing from every single one of you.